Daniel Kish rides his bike when he can. He takes long walks through his hometown of Long Beach, California. As a child, he climbed trees and went to school every day. None of this seems extraordinary, until we find out that Daniel Kish is completely blind.
When he was a baby, he had an aggressive form of cancer that attacked his retinas. In order to save his life, both of his eyes were removed by the time he was 13 months old.
As he was growing up, he decided that he could do anything he wanted to. Of course, not all of those things worked out, but he taught himself to lead the life he expected to live. He never considered himself blind. He considered himself as one with different challenges to overcome. To his surprise, he found out that most of the blind community did not feel the same way. He learned that most schools for the blind taught their students how to be dependent upon others. He heard, "Blind people don't do that," more often than he expected.
The way that he gets around is by making a clicking noise with his tongue. This is called echolocation, and we generally hear about it being used by bats, whales, and dolphins. The clicking noise echoes off of objects and back to Daniel Kish, who then visualizes his surroundings. This process doesn't work for everybody, and not all in the blind community are interested in using it. But it works for Daniel Kish. He has since begun a foundation to teach others how to counter every no that they hear. Using echoes, he has created a new set of expectations for himself and his community.
We know the standards that society has set for your generation. We have been told that there is hope for your generation if
you manage to not post inappropriate pictures of yourself on the internet. You don't deal drugs. You don't drink and drive. Somehow, you get through a day without insulting someone on social media. You hold down a job for a while. Remember to vote.
If you reach these goals, and a few more, the rest of the world will breathe a sigh of relief and rest easier. But hopes aren't high.
In reality, we all know that your generation has very little self-confidence. You are your own worst critics. You stress yourselves out and worry about doing well in school and at work. You're constantly disagreeing with your parents, your friends, and yourselves, but you're trying to compromise where you can. You really do try to make good choices. When we teach about the saints, teens tell us that they could never be as holy, but they can try. And it's exhausting. But maybe one day you'll get tired, and you'll realize that maybe you can just get by on those low goals that society has set for you. You start to believe that maybe that's all we can do after all. We hear teens saying that everyone has given up on them. Then we hear teens saying that they gave up.
And maybe now we know why your generation has low self-confidence?
Expectations for your generation are low. If you're blind, expectations are minimal. Daniel Kish learned how to click his tongue and live in the world, even as he is surrounded by darkness. He reached his goals by interpreting the echoes. This semester, we're challenging you to do the same.
From the original Greek, the word catechism means to echo. A church teaching would be recited, and the listener would be instructed to echo it or repeat it until it was learned. We are told to study the Catechism, to learn it. It is not a novel. It was not meant to be read cover to cover. It isn't a list of suggestions. These are not just nice things for us to believe or do.
Pope Benedict wrote that the Catechism was not written to please you. It will not make life easy for you because it demands of you a new life. You need to know what you believe. You need to be more deeply rooted in the faith than the generation of your parents, so you can engage the challenges and temptations of this time with strength and determination.
This is our church. It is our responsibility to study the Catechism. We must challenge ourselves to know Christ, to know His church, and to know ourselves. Through Christ and the church, we have been given everything we need to get to heaven. This is the highest of all expectations, and He has already set it for you.
When we told people we were focusing an entire semester on the Catechism, people thought that you might not be able to handle it. That would be too much information for you. But we expect you to want it more than they think you do.
You are going to hear a lot of information with the Catechism as our roadmap, our guidebook.
Some of us may know all of this already. That's awesome.
But our goal this semester is to bring light to the darkness that is society's low expectation of your generation, the darkness that allows you to believe that you don't deserve to be loved, the darkness that constantly reminds you that you, a sinner, will never get to heaven, the darkness that keeps you company and makes you stop asking questions.
We're going to change our own expectations of ourselves and each other, and we'll ask the church to guide us. We're not saying that we will fully regain our sight in one semester, but hopefully you'll get a better idea of how to reach eternal light.